A couple of major reports have dropped over the past 24 hours about a potential Pascal Siakam trade, as one reveals two new suitors for Siakam, teams that are going to be actively looking to acquire him ahead of this year's trade deadline, and Adrian Wojnarowski revealed the truth about a potential Pascal Siakam trade ahead of this year's trade deadline, at least in the near future. So lots of stuff to get into this vid, but before we do, folks, I just want to thank you. We hit that 31,000 subscriber mark. You guys have been crushing it. Subscribing to the channel, supporting the vids. We're trying to deliver you all of the latest Toronto Raptors coverage. So if you're not in the, over half of our viewers are subscribed to the channel. It would mean the world to me if you guys could hit that subscribe button. But let's dive into the news, because there's a lot of stuff that has dropped regarding Pascal Siakam. And basically, it was all summarized pretty well in this Bleacher Report article that indicates, the Raptors, Pascal Siakam unlikely to sign a contract if traded, and the Mavs and more are linked. This is something that we all knew. We knew that Pascal Siakam wants to test unrestricted free agency if he doesn't come to a contract extension with the Toronto Raptors. So even if he's traded, he's not looking to sign a multi-year deal. But let's get into the beef of what actually is going on regarding Pascal Siakam. Basically, any team that acquires Siakam will only be eligible to offer him a 2-year extension. The veteran would prefer, again, to proceed into unrestricted free agency, meaning that any team that trades for him now must be daring enough to roll the dice. So basically, this is a way for Pascal Siakam to nuke his trade value, max the possibility that the Raptors give him this extension. I'll give my opinion in terms of what I think the Toronto Raptors should do at the end of this video, but basically, if we trade Pascal Siakam away, his value will be increased magnitudes if he was willing to sign, a 2-year extra couple years onto his contract with the team that he went to, because then they have him locked in, so they'd be more willing to give up more assets to come back to the Toronto Raptors. But Pascal's not going to do that. I don't blame him whatsoever. If he's going to go to a team, no sense in locking yourself into a new contract extension when you don't know what the team is going to be like. You don't know if it's going to nuke your value in the future, if you can make more money, a longer-term deal in unrestricted free agency. So don't blame Pascal Siakam whatsoever along those lines. But more details have actually been revealed in this article, saying that additionally, the list of potential Siakam suitors continues to grow, as Marc Stein reports the Dallas Mavericks and Memphis Grizzlies emerge alongside the Atlanta Hawks, Indiana Pacers, and Sacramento Kings as contenders for his services. Now, Memphis Grizzlies are a team that definitely expressed interest in OG Anunoby last offseason. They're a team that's very interesting because they've been contenders, or at least really strong team in the Western Conference over the past couple of years, but frankly, they have fumbled this season. Dylan Brooks, they trade him away. They let him walk, or trade him away. They let him walk for nothing in free agency. Ja Morant has been out with suspension for the start of this year, so they have been in the dumpster to sort of in the Western Conference to start off the season. They're slowly crawling back, especially with Ja back in the lineup and things along those lines, but they want to add a star to Ja Morant. So basically, the Memphis Grizzlies have some interesting pieces. They have some future draft picks. However, we don't know if those picks will be valuable. Again, the Grizzlies are really bad right now. The unpredictability of Ja Morant's sort of off-the-court antics gives some question marks in terms of whether or not an unprotected first for the Memphis Grizzlies in the next 2 years could potentially warrant, a big star trade, because if Ja Morant sort of gets suspended for a season and then the Grizzlies don't really have a lot of assets, a lot of pieces, one of their unprotected picks, a couple of their unprotected picks could be extremely valuable. But then on the other hand, they've been an upper echelon team in the Western Conference when they've had all their players sort of together. So, their picks don't intrigue me too much. Their younger pieces don't have that much sort of weight to them. Like a Jalen Johnson is a guy that, again, I still probably be hesitant to trade Pascal Siakam in a package centered around him, but a lot more intriguing than a lot of the younger prospects on the Memphis Grizzlies that they sort of have rolling right now. So I'm not too intrigued by the Memphis Grizzlies. However, the Dallas Mavericks, again, another team, not a lot of draft capital, needs sort of another star to complement Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. Their big center that they just acquired, is potentially, an athletic rim protector and stuff along those lines. I don't know if that's really what we need. We kind of want some floor space, and getting a lob threat would be a cool sort of addition to this Toronto Raptors squad, but I want something really nice. If I'm trading away Pascal Siakam, I want a haul in return, the same way we got for OG Anunoby. We basically got, two potential star young players, as well as an elite second round pick. Probably the best potential second round pick you could get. Better than a late first round pick, because you have more flexibility regarding the contract and stuff. So, these two teams don't excite me as a potential trade suitor. So that's sort of the reality. Let me know if there's any players on the Grizzlies or the Dallas Mavericks that you'd be sort of intrigued in. But, I prefer the packages potentially surrounding Jalen Johnson from the Atlanta Hawks, Keegan Murray from the Kings, as well as Benedict Mathurin. But we also had a little Woj bomb. Woj came out and revealed some truth regarding this Pascal Siakam situation, and this is something that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable because it leads into what I've been saying pretty well this entire time, as Pascal Siakam is eligible for a 4-year, $202 million extension, and that will be eligible for a 5-year supermax around $304 million if he makes an All-NBA team this year. That said, it's no surprise he is not open to signing a 2-year deal if the Toronto Raptors do trade him this winter, which makes sense. But while teams appear to remain interested in Pascal Siakam's services, Adrian Wojnarowski has reported that there has been no traction in trade talks involving the veteran after that deal that sent away OG Anunoby from Toronto to the New York Knicks. However, Jake Fisher has added that at the time, the league personnel certainly prepare for a Siakam trade to follow suit. So basically what the reports are saying, what everything is going on, that we're just saying, don't expect a deal to happen. Don't be constantly refreshing Twitter right now for a potential Pascal Siakam trade. There's no real traction in terms of a deal that's going on right now, which regardless of if he's getting dealt or not, really makes sense. Masai Ujiri has to evaluate how this team, the evaluation has been a meme, evaluating this team forever, indefinitely, but needs to see how this core group kind of looks together, how we could tweak it. If we do inevitably trade Pascal Siakam, what holes need to be filled around a core of Immanuel, Quickley, RJ Barrett, and Scotty Barnes. So don't expect a deal to happen immediately, and also the trade deadline, more and more teams get desperate. I mean, 2 new suitors have added to the mix right now in terms of the Mavs and the Grizzlies. The more teams that are interested, the more value you could potentially get back. So don't expect a deal to come in the next sort of couple days, next few hours, immediately after this video goes out. But wait for Masai Ujiri to see how this team is rolling. When we traded away Rudy Gay back in 2013, 2014, Masai Ujiri was ready to cook. He was ready to trade away DeMar, ready to trade away Kyle Lowry, all of these things. But he saw this team sort of turn this game around, and we ended up keeping DeMar, keeping Lowry, and then the Raptors went on the greatest run in franchise history. So I'm not saying that's guaranteed what's going to happen. I am hyped following that Cleveland Cavaliers game, but Masai Ujiri has to see how this all plays out, see how everything shakes up with this Raptors group, because I'm pretty pumped with what I saw from Quickley and RJ Barrett. I mean, that game would have been a blowout if the Cavs weren't hitting some dumb, ridiculous, contested fadeaway threes in that game. So, we have a very tough schedule coming forward. So, I personally want to give Siakam that contract extension. I want to give it to him. See how this is. Make sure we're not absolute trash, absolute hot garbage over the next couple of weeks. But I think we extend Siakam. I think it makes sense. Have him under contract for the organization for a long period of time. And then, if you do think things need to be shaken up with Pascal Siakam specifically, deal him away next year when you have more sort of years on his deal. He's more valuable to other teams. He's going to be a solid defender. He's not a Zach LaVine character that's one-dimensional and stuff. Siakam can sort of fit in pretty well any sort of team that he can go into. So, I mean, give Siakam that sort of contract extension and then see how the ride's out. But probably wait until you hear the offers, hear what's coming in from these other teams from, ahead of this year's trade deadline. So I think Masai Ujiri, he's playing it as perfectly as we could have expected with the OG Anunoby deal that just went down, and then sort of waiting and seeing on Pascal Siakam, letting the bids amp up a little bit and then see what the best course of action is, in a few weeks or so, once that February 4th trade deadline or February 8th trade deadline, I'm not sure the date this year, actually happens. But let me know what you guys think about a potential Pascal Siakam trade, all these updates that have been going on. Again, thank you again for hitting that 31,000 subscriber mark. Let's keep this channel rolling. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.